Hello, gorgeous, and a warm welcome to Accepting. I'm Aline, your host, and in this episode, we're going to be following on from the previous really special episode with Kristos and Foster and feeling a little bit deeper into some of the themes that came up. So if you haven't seen it, please go back and listen. And if you have, then please join me, grab yourself a cup of tea, get yourself cozy, and please continue doing all the good stuff, reviewing, following, sharing, so we can reach more people and we can really get this acceptance movement going. So much love and enjoy. Welcome to Accepting, where I guide you to accept all aspects of your beautiful self, embrace your truth, and live your life that way. Welcome, gorgeous. Thank you so much for joining me. So, last week we had the incredible special guests, my spiritual mentors, Kristos T and Foster Perry, and they delved into so much. So, what I'm feeling in these next episodes is I'm going to be taking a topic that was covered and exploring it a little bit more. Now, we're not under the tree of love today, and I'll explain about that a little bit more later. So this is just on audio. So if you're wondering why you can't hear the birds and you can't see the tree, that's why. So what happened is after the episode with Kristos and Foster, after the recording, you know, we all have lots going on in our lives. I ended up not feeling too hungry. I'd had a situation going on for a little while. As many of you know, we care for cats and we look after cats. And I had a gorgeous boy with me who I'd been nursing from an attack that he had and then preparing him for adoption. And various things happened with the vets. Let's just say eclipse and Mercury retrograde were in full swing. And poor baby, he finally left on Tuesday night, which was the night of the full moon eclipse. And after that, my body started speaking to me, and it really, really reminded me of everything that I advocate, reminding me to, look after ourselves first. So what happened was I was still doing everything that I could in every way I could. And I was very connected with his forever family. And I was very connected with him being okay, etc., etc., etc. One of the things that Kristos brings up is we can't be in perpetual stress. We can't be in fight, flight, freeze, fawn, because our bodies can't take it. Our nervous system can't take it. And I think my adrenaline had possibly been going through the roof with the will he, won't he, actually since November, poor baby. So my body finally said, oh, we don't have to make sure that he's not run out the door. We don't have to make sure this, and this. And so the responsibility, if you like, that I had for him had gone, because I'd cared and loved and made sure that he was well and safe, in the best way that I could, with the beautiful music from Kristos and Foster, and listening to my heart and looking after him, whilst also being in public, if you like, being with other people in situations who don't necessarily have the understanding of how I work with my intuition, of how I know. So what was really interesting was being in a situation where I knew he was absolutely fine and he was ready to go, and then to be told, oh no, but this test says he's not, and then this test says he's not, and then this test says he's not. It was all very, very interesting. So what happened was, without going into all of it, I may do a whole episode on it another time. This is just bringing me to trust and all working out well, because Meowie was due to go in January, and for various reasons, the universe decided he was to stay with me a little bit longer, get him a bit more prepared. And actually 2 days before he left, he started sitting on my lap. I mean, he was always cuddling into me and being on my bed and everything. He actually started walking over to cuddle in and sit on my lap. So we were preparing him for apartment life as well. So whereas before Not that he was too bothered about going outside, because he arrived in our garden as an abandoned cat, so he was quite happy being inside. And it was preparing him for that. So after he left, after I knew and my body knew, and we had the full moon eclipse and we had, the after effects of that, knew he was safe, knew he was okay, knew it was all going well, my body just went, okay, that's enough. I lost my appetite. I had the mother of all cold sores, and I still kept getting on with it. I was just dealing with things. And one of the situations I was due to deal with on Monday morning, I went to bed on Sunday, and my ankle was absolutely fine. I think it was about 9:30. I just felt so tired and thought, I need to go to bed now. So I went to bed at 9:30, and I was dreaming that I had 2 lumps on my left ankle that were really excruciating pain in this dream. And then I woke up in excruciating pain and couldn't move my left ankle overnight. That's how that happened. And it meant, and it has meant, that I have not been putting any pressure on my foot, my left ankle, since I tried to on Monday morning, which wasn't the best idea. And what that has shown me is that I was pushing, rather than, as I advocate, we go at our own pace, we look after ourselves first. And my body was saying to me, I've given you a cold sore. You've hardly been eating anything. What is going to stop you to just take a pause? What's going to stop you? And the only thing that was going to stop me was not being able to physically move. So that's what kicked in. And then what I've started to realize with that is, as we're coming up to the end of the eclipse season, which is on March the 20th with the new moon, and also we're in Mercury retrograde. And what I realize is, yes, we're in the fire horse and we did all of our shedding before. What this first quarter of the fire horse has been allowing us to do, because yes, it's action, it's reminding us, and this is the theme that I would like to really, really stay with, is it's really reminding us that to go at our own pace, because it's all very well, yes, action. We all have our own rhythms. And I did a whole episode on this before, which I can share. I'll share in this link so you can listen to again if you wish. We all have our own rhythms, and it is so important to honor our rhythms. And what my body realized is that I was escalating and accelerating to my detriment. So my body stopped me. And what I also realized as well is that what's happening is, as we're in the energy of the eclipse season and we're in Mercury retrograde, and Foster mentioned this as well, is about how we're coming up and we're feeling into, oh, why didn't I do that? Why did that happen? What's happened for me is my body has reminded me of a physical injury that I had many times over my life. And what that caused me was, this has been quick. This will be just over a week. It's caused me months before of not being able to walk in my past, when I've torn the ligaments on both my ankles at different times and then carried on walking on them, not realizing what I'd done until the next day. And there was a weakness there where I wasn't looking after myself properly, and the ankle had gone again. This time it happened in my sleep. I didn't do anything. It just happened in my sleep. So what it's really showing me is there's an old pain there that we really need to close and treat it with respect, treat it with kindness, not try and push, not try and put pressure to close it, to finish it. Allow the healing to happen. And this feels so huge for all of us at the moment, is allow the healing to happen. So if there's something that's happened to you recently, you thought, well, I already dealt with that. I've already, closed the door on that, and it's coming up again in this eclipse season. It's completely natural, my gorgeous. All we're doing is finally closing chapters, is finally closing elements of our lives that really, really don't match where we are now. And as we're taking more care of ourselves, as we're aligning with our true values and our truth, and our vibrations are raising, all our bodies are doing is they're trying to catch up with where we are. So they're saying, well, actually, well, this, for me, this ankle injury doesn't match your vibrational energy at the moment, so let's deal with that. So it's really important that we listen to our bodies. It's really important that we listen to our own pace. And so what I've been doing is, whereas before it's like, right, stick an ankle support on and then, we'll be absolutely fine. What my whole ankle did is it wouldn't let me even walk on my foot. So it wasn't just my ankle, it was my whole entire foot. And there's various people have various theories. Was it an insect bite? But I don't know what it was. What I do really, really feel is my body saying, let's deal with this old wound once and for all. And as we know, our body speaks to us, and our body remembers, our body stores memories of situations. And if we go into the world of, let's say, Louise Hay, for example, ankles are where we feel support. And this was the huge takeaway for me as well. Not only is it allowing the healing to happen, it's allowing the support to happen. Because for 5 hours, from 5 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock in the morning, before anybody was up, I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything. I was in excruciating pain. With the central sensitivity syndrome I have, it was going through the roof. I couldn't walk to go and get anywhere or do anything. And I didn't want to disturb anybody in the house. So what this has really taught me, and the ankle in our body, as we know, is about support, literally and metaphorically. I had to ask for support. This past week, I have still shown up. I've still, my bed has been my office. I've still made phone calls. I've still been present for wherever it was I was going to be helping on the phone. And I've still managed to do everything that I could do with my presence there. I've still managed to do it on the phone. So what that really showed me is, for whatever reason, my body didn't want to go into this particular environment. It was involving hospitals. And with the sensitivity that I have, and with the expanding that we're all doing, with the sensitivity that we have with all that's going on in the world, it's so important to really, really look after ourselves. And perhaps that wasn't the best environment at that moment for me to go into, after all of the up and down with the adrenaline, with Meowie, to then go into another situation where people are worried, are in fear, they're in the hospital, to then go and translate when I was perfectly capable of doing that on the phone. So that was another element, because that's what I had started changing very much, was instead of being, and this is what I talk about in my healthy boundary list, checklist, if you don't have that, then, please look at it, is, do you have to be there in person? Can you change it? And can you be there for that person on the phone or on Zoom? It doesn't mean you don't see them again in person. You're just putting your boundaries in there. So that came up for some reason as well. So this episode is a shorter one, and it's just a little, an insight into what's been going on with me. And hopefully this will help you. And you may feel, well, actually, yeah, that happened the other day. It might not be physical, in your body. It might be physically around you. Or it may be physically in your body. You may have felt some strain on certain joints, and that's also ascension. That's also ascension signs as well, because we're all going up. And also, so if there's something happening, my gorgeous, this is why I really felt it was important to do this episode, is be really, really kind to yourself. And I know that's my mantra, be really, really kind to yourself, because there is, as we know, so much going on in the world. And the more we look after ourselves, the more we focus on love over fear, the quicker we can heal, the quicker we can help our body, and the quicker we can get on with why we're really here. So it's so important. And when things, well, in general, so it's about the preventative. And this was an interesting insight. When I went to bed on Sunday night, I usually pop a pillow underneath my feet, and I was so tired I just rolled over and fell asleep. My last thought before I went to bed, before I fell asleep, was, are you sure you don't want to prop your foot up? And then that happened at 5 o'clock in the morning. With love over fear, it's also listening to our intuition, it's trusting. So I don't know if I'd have put my ankle up on a pillow that night if this would have happened. And this is going into, when we do shoulda, woulda, coulda. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again, and Foster said this as well. Whatever decisions you made in the past, whatever you chose, there was a reason for it. You learnt from it. There was an experience there to gain. There was wisdom there that has brought you to where you are now. And without all of those other decisions that you made, there's no good, bad, they just are. That has brought you to where you are. So what I really feel is we're really closing, for once and for all, we're really closing the past so we can really, really focus on our health, our abundance, and our community. And as much as the Fire Horse is about action, I really feel it's also about action in community. So we have all the social medias, and what I've been really feeling recently is I've been consolidating everything as well. Of course, I'm showing up as a community online. What I also really wish to start focusing on is a community around me as well, physically around me. And this is where the support aspect comes in, because a lot of the work that I've been doing has been online and not necessarily asking for support of anybody around me. So consequently, my ankle going, me not being able to do anything, I have had to ask for household support. And the balance, if you like, has been healed, because before, with the situation with Meowie, with there's a joke which doesn't happen so much anymore, as in ask Aline, because as creative, intuitive empaths, we get answers very quickly. And we have feelings and intuitive about what's going on, and people can click onto this. And so not so much anymore, because as we know, just jumping in doesn't give people the experience, and we only help when we're asked. So I have been asked for help recently, and of course I have been there. I haven't asked anybody to help me recently. And that became really, really evident with my ankle, because for the 5 hours that I was in that excruciating pain, I didn't want to bother anybody. So if this is resonating with you, and this is actually making me quite teary, if this is resonating with you, my gorgeous, and something's going on and you don't want to bother anybody, bother them. Reach out for support, because it might be, as I did, that your body says, well, if you're not going to ask for support in an emotional way, we're going to get you to need support in a physical way. Because as we know, what happens emotionally, mentally, it goes through different parts of our system. And if we haven't healed it in one place, it will show up in the physical. So as much as I do believe that this is healing the past for me, as much as I do believe this was about me asking for support, there were elements where I absolutely could have gone down this line without it being physical. So I take accountability for that. And I realize that the emotional, mental support, if you like, that I hadn't asked for, because I was just piling it on, and getting through it all, just pushing through, if you like, rather than having my sacred pause, etc., so forth. Because to be perfectly honest, since Cleo passed in September, the world has been a different place. So we've all been navigating this new reality, if you like. And then when other situations come in, when we're still healing, if we haven't quite got to that point, we can look for where that gap is, where that huge gap with Cleo, was left, I wouldn't say I went into people pleasing mode, because I don't do that so much anymore. That's what this is all about. What I did start doing, though, was I was being a lot more available. It was important to be a lot more available, to be perfectly honest, and I would do the same again. What was equally important that I didn't do was to look after myself. So all the time I was looking after Meowie, all the times I was problem solving, arranging, organising hospital appointments, etc., translating for doctors, etc., so forth. Where was Aline in that? So this is what I'm saying to you, my lovely. If you're finding, well, actually, I've been doing this, and this for everybody else again, whereas I had clear boundaries in before. And this is another really important point. We're not pushing people away with our boundaries. We're looking after ourselves first. If there's a situation, like I said, emergency situations where you're needed, then of course we're there. And there've been a few of those for me recently. So coming out of that, so with the Meowie, he was due to leave that day, and then I was told that there was a faulty test. So then I went into complete emergency mode, having to organise all of that, tell the people who were involved with his adoption and the people in the household that I share that he wasn't going yet. And one of the expressions that came out of me from nowhere when I was talking to somebody was, I'm fed up of being blamed for things that aren't my fault. And that was massive. So if anything's coming up, my lovely, because the world, as we know, there's a lot going on at the moment. And if you're around people who haven't necessarily done the inner work, they've done no inner work, or they're only just starting, and they're in a very fearful manner, and they're taking that out on you, I'm not saying that's okay. I'm just saying, please know you don't deserve to be blamed for anything that is not your fault. In fact, you don't deserve to be blamed, full stop. So this is where, with my healthy boundaries as well, one of the things that is really important when we're creating healthy boundaries is we don't blame the other people. So if something's happening around you and a situation has happened that you have absolutely no control over, because let's face it, eclipse energy, Mercury energy, and your boss or your family or your friends, because it's something that you organize and then something's happened out of the blue that you have no control over, and people were relying on this situation and they've started blaming you, that is not okay, my gorgeous. It is not your fault. You are not responsible for things that are out of our control. We're responsible for our choices. We're responsible for our reactions to our choices. We are not responsible for something that happens that is out of our control, that changes a situation that involves other people. And that felt really strong to come out for some reason. So if there's somebody listening to this and something that's happened that you, I don't know, maybe you organised an event for your work, or maybe you organised an event for your friends, or maybe you're involved in animal protection as well, and there's been a situation where some of the beautiful babies that you've been looking after are due to leave that day, and then something happens exactly the same as what happened to me. Maybe something like that's happening. It feels more work related at the moment. So if there's somebody listening to this and you've organized something work related that hasn't worked out because of an unforeseen situation and you're being blamed, that is not okay. And you have every right to say to the people who are trying to blame you, I understand that this is unfortunate. This is out of my control, and I do not deserve the blame. Just let that sit for a moment. Feels really important to say that for somebody listening. So we've covered a few topics, actually. So it's feeling into that love over fear. So if you're in a work environment and there's people around you who are feeling more into the fear and taking things out on you because they won't know what's necessarily going on vibrationally, with everything that's going on in the world. And as a collective, there is a lot going on, and we can either, as Kristos also said, we can either contribute to the opposite, so we focus on the love, or we can dive in and get into that spiral of fear that everybody else is feeling. So I would choose, my lovely, to contribute to the opposite. So if people around you are acting towards you in such a way, remember that we are mirrors as well, as creative, intuitive empaths, as creative souls, as sensitive souls. We can be mirrors for other people. We can trigger something in them that they're not dealing with in themselves. So if you're being blamed for something, if somebody's speaking to you in such a way that's out of character, they're speaking to themselves. There's something in them that they're actually avoiding by putting the blame on you. Okay, that felt hugely important to say. So I'm going to close the episode there. I will be back under the tree next week. I believe I would say another 2-3 days maybe, and I can be walking on my ankle again. I have members of my household who have gone to get me ankle supports so I can look after both ankles when I'm walking longer distances looking after the cats. So I'm using preventative measures, and I'm also going in more into my inner work as well. So I'm still here. We're still recording. We're still in nature as much as we can. I haven't been under the tree of love for a week, and I really want to get there. And just thank you so much for listening. So if there's anything that resonates with you and you feel, actually, I'd really like to have a session with you, Aline. I'd like an Akashic session. I'd like to talk about longer term coaching and mentoring. Get in touch with me. If you're hearing this and you're thinking, actually, yes, this resonates, get in touch with me. We are all human. Nobody's perfect. And I feel very much when I'm sharing with what's happening with me and I'm receiving my insights, I'm speaking as the collective, and I'm very much, the intention is it's going to be helping you. That's why I'm very, very candid and honest in my episodes. So if you're looking for somebody who can support you to remembering who you truly are, then get in touch with me. We'll be back next week under the tree of love. I imagine I have some of my kitties with me. Currently, Coco has come onto my lap. Mr. G's at the end of the bed. Tigray's been around as well. They've all been, even though the door's been open for them to go outside, they've all been with me. So they've been supporting me, and I didn't even have to ask for it. They just knew. So much love, my gorgeous. See you next week. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Accepting. Please do stay tuned for future episodes, and also subscribe wherever you get your podcast.